Welcome to Off Script. I am your host, Will May, and this is my beautiful co-host,
Ashley. And we are changing it up a little bit today. We're titling this episode, We Didn't Do Our Intro.
We didn't do our intro every week.
Do we even like that intro? We don't talk about our family.
Yeah, just keep it going. This is our new intro. We're keep going.
Okay. So today we are talking about what sets high-performing agents apart. Are they born or are they built? So Will and I have kind of been reflecting on this topic a little bit since, he's coached a lot of agents over the years, and they're receiving the same coaching, the same systems, the same tools, but there's always a separation point and a separator of those that kind of take off and do it or make it and do the things and become really, really high talented, high performing agents. And then sometimes there's those who don't. Mm-hmm. So we've kind of been reflecting and dissecting that of like, are just top talented agents born great? Or is it something that they learn through systems, skills, tools, discipline, those type of things? So that's kind of our discussion for today.
Yeah, and I have some numbers here before we start into like activities and mindset. So in the Omaha market, we have about 28, it goes back and forth, 2,800 to 3,000 agents in the Omaha market. So top 20% does about 19 units.
Okay.
So there's right around 550 agents that do 19 units or more. Mm-hmm. And then you have in the top 10% do 30 plus units.
Okay.
So that's about 275 agents are doing more than 30 units a year.
Okay.
Now, when we get into these rankings, we're pulling from the MLS, so you have to understand that some of these are team leaders, right? Like yourself. Mm-hmm. Some of these are team leader numbers, so there's halves in there.
Don't discredit me.
No, don't discredit me. And then the top 5%, which is 150 agents, are doing more than 38 units. So you're in the top 5%. If you're doing 38 or more units, or you account for 38 or more units, if you're a team leader, that gets some of those additional halves. Mm-hmm. There are 20 agents doing more than 75 units, and there's only 10, you are one of them, there's only 10 agents that account for doing more than 100 units in the Omaha market.
So what would we, just for the sake of this conversation, probably like maybe the top 10%, those that are doing that, like, yeah. What was that number, 30, 25 units? What was that, 10%?
There's about 275 agents doing 30 plus units.
Okay, so 30 plus unit, I mean, you're making a good amount of money, you're doing a lot of business, that does take a lot of effort, so let's talk about those people.
Yeah, because think about it, there's 2,500 other agents doing less than that, right? So there's definitely it's interesting to see the numbers drop really quickly after that 20%. Mm-hmm. It gets down to like 15, 14, 12, 10, and there's a huge group of people doing less than 10 units. Mm-hmm. So I always find it very interesting because like the initial, when you're like revving up and getting things going, you're going to hit your first ceiling around like 4 to 6 million. And that you like get to that 10 to 15 number, and that's where people kind of stall out.
Yeah, they plateau at around that amount.
Yep. And then there's some people that break through and they get into that next, I guess that next level. And then your top agents, like, it's interesting because we all know what to do. We're all supposed to do lead generation, do lead follow-up, practice your scripts, have a good listing presentation. And some people are just super well, they're very well connected. But I don't know, like, for me, when it comes to high performer, they're either like, there's two things. It's outside of real estate, like, maybe it's athletics, or maybe they've been a part of teams before, but they're either like fearful of something, like they're running from some sort of like pain in the past, or they're fearful of like fear of failure, right? Like if you have been in a very successful family growing up, there's this sense of like, okay, I have to live up to that standard. I've been shown this before. And there's a fear of like, I don't want to look like I failed or I didn't make it. Yep. And the other side of that is nobody's ever taught me how to do these things. And those are the people that have to like create that, that great success and that standard for their families.
Yep, 100%. So either coming from a place of pain and fear, or also fear of failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes fear of not having money or security or a lot of it's shaped by their backgrounds, experiences that they grow up in that form their habits and the things that they do to get out of that situation.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then, there's definitely a transition of that's not the only way you find success and keep it, right? Like at some point you start, your mind switches to abundance. Like, oh, I don't have to run from that. I'm not going back to zero. For you, like, what drives you? Like, you're obviously in that group of people. What is it for you? Do you feel like, because like, no, I'm going to find success. I'm going to make it there.
I think for me, because you and I come from very different backgrounds, we've talked about this, and so, mine's not necessarily a place of fear of scarcity and money and all of that. For me, it was, I came from a background of two very dominant male entrepreneurs who did find success themselves in their own way very, very differently in completely different industries. And I also didn't ever want to, I also was a very independent child growing up, and neither of my moms worked. And I just didn't want to be like my moms. Not that not working or being a stay-at-home mom is a bad thing. So I'm not here to say that in any way, shape, or form. But I like really idolize the men in my life, the dads in my life. And so I was like, well, I want to find success, and I want to do it my own way. I don't want it to be given to me or handed to me. So my driving factor was always finding success and being independent, not relying on a man specifically for money, because I witnessed what that my moms did, you know, and that cripples you in certain aspects of your life and certain things that you can do. And I didn't want that for myself. So mine was just very success driven by who was around me, but not wanting it handed to me. So I wanted to go and create my own thing and find success. So I guess you could say fear of failure, of not being successful based on my childhood.
Yeah. And then before real estate, you had already found success. And then why make the changeover and restart all that if you've already, and in your field at that time made it close to the top?
Yeah, so from the healthcare industry, I mean, I just wasn't feeling passionate about what I was doing anymore, and there was that ceiling above my head because I was working for somebody else in the corporate environment. Like, there's only so far you can go when you're in the corporate world unless you're going to become the president and take over CHI hospital across the nation, and I had no interest in doing that.
Right.
So for me, it was real estate because I can create my own wealth. I can grow as big as I want to grow. And then I can also help people along the way do the same thing by creating a path through that. So it was just really fun once I started into it. I didn't know that I was going to actually really enjoy real estate and be really great at it. I wasn't at first though either. So I know we'll unpack that a little bit in the podcast. It wasn't like I just started and was immediately selling 70 houses a year.
That's right.
Like, it took time, it took effort, it took discipline, it took coaching, it took mentoring and all of these things. So that kind of goes back to my original point of everybody has access to those things if they're connected to the right people, but then like there's a difference between like being motivated and being disciplined, because I'm not motivated every day, but on the days that I still don't want to do things, for the most part, I still do the things. That's
right. Yeah, I think that's super important. Is like the activities are like the precursor. You have to do these things, and then the rest of it is like what really drives you. What's your purpose? For me, I think mine really comes from like, I know what it's literally like to have nothing and to not be good. And like when I started in real estate, it was my first sales job. Like I ran from sales with anything I possibly could, because the last 3 generations of William Mays, I'm the 4th, were all salespeople. So I'm like, well, I'm way better than them, so I'm not going to do sales. And then God, the universe, pulled me right back into it. Like, you can't run from the things that that are set up for you. It's that you have to like come at them in a different way. My sister and I have always wanted to create generational change for the kids or for the next generation underneath us. I never knew what that was going to feel like until you're in it. It was much harder than I ever thought that was going to be. But when I got into real estate, my first 6 months was awful. Like, I did script and role play. I door knocked every door you could possibly imagine. Ran out of money. Got a loan. They shouldn't have given me that loan, and I would never tell anybody to do that, which bought me like another 3 months. That I was 45 days into that 90 days that I had left, and like still had not done a deal, which is crazy to think. And like a lot of times in my car crying, like, am I even good at this? And once I like let go of this idea of I don't want to look bad, right? Like, that first 6 months was like, I can do this. I've never failed at anything. I've always been good at the things I put my mind to. And so like feeling failure was really hard for me. And I was like about to be a new dad. Will was on the way at that time. And I'm like, I've moved across the country and I'm literally failing. And I'm like, there's part of me that some days I'm still waking up believing in myself, like I'm going to be rookie of the year. And then the other reality part of me is like, how could you possibly be rookie of the year in our office if you haven't sold a house? Like you go back and forth, like, I got all these
have
people.
Belief.
I was like, I got all these people though, like there's this one too, I got all these leads. And then once I like let it go and I was like, all right, I'm going to give this my all for the last 45 days of what I have left. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I let go of that pressure on myself, and then it all kind of happened, if that makes sense. So I know what it's like to fail. I know what it's like to never want to go back to having nothing. So for me, that's a big driving force of, not that my dad never taught me how to do these things, or like we didn't have a good example. Just the goals that I've had when I was in my early 20s, I never had seen those things happen. So to be able to now find success and to be doing the things that we're doing and make the impact we are making, it's cool to see and coach high performers and non-high performers and see what they go through and be able to like empathize with that.
Yeah, so let's kind of unpack some of the things that we see as common factors, if you will, between some of the people that we're thinking of in our minds that have found success in real estate. And it's probably going to be a little bit different for everybody, but I think overall there are some consistencies. So one of those would be just some core habits, starting with like some type of a morning discipline. And I think that can look very different for everybody, whether that's like physical discipline, spiritual, like everyone does different things. They don't do all of these. I'm reading through some of these things that we have jotted down, such as journaling, working out, but then it has role play, lead gen before noon, script and role play. So like all of those things would fit into this morning discipline category. So let's talk about what you see some of the high performers doing from a morning routine standpoint.
I feel like you've got to nail mornings. I think it's super important. I didn't believe in that so much when I got into the industry, because I always did my lead gen in the afternoon, and now coaching and understanding how even top agents, 90% of us think we're firefighters. The afternoons get taken from everybody, and then especially once you have family. So I think all your mornings should really plan have some sort of vision for the day, intentions for the day. What do I want to accomplish? And then you've got to take care of your mind first. So like whether that's a book, a podcast, meditation, I cold plunge every day, whatever it may be that is like fueling you or centering you, whatever that may be. I think that's the most important piece of the whole puzzle. And then go into like get your lead gen done before noon, get your lead follow up done before noon if you can, get skill set practice like scripting in before noon, and then look at your pipeline every single day. One thing that we've tried to implement is if you start the day looking at your pipeline and you end the day looking at your pipeline, what you focus on expands. So if you're constantly looking at your pipeline and what can I do to move one of these people through my pipeline, which then means you have to have a pipeline in place, that will always continue to grow, and you'll move people if that's what you're focusing on as your daily intention.
And I think, so I'm not the most disciplined person as far as like working out every morning or things like that, I'll be honest, on this podcast. I'm not. And so, but I do think the one thing that I do consistently as far as the mornings is I do my lead gen very first thing in the day after I'm done with scripts and role play. So scripts and role play is my discipline piece of it from a real estate aspect. And then I like to lead gen right afterwards, get it out of the way, because I feel like once the day starts and I'm getting texts from friends or family or clients and transactions, I get so sucked into those things that then I'm like, oh, I didn't have time to lead gen today. So I just try and get it out of the way as soon as I can, and then acknowledge the rest of the stuff later in the day. And then I think, for those that are listening that maybe don't have a morning routine right now, like don't overcomplicate it either. Don't try and make a million things happen, because you're probably not going to do them. Start with one thing, whether that one thing is just reading 5 minutes. I think in order to build confidence, you have to make promises to yourself and follow through on them. And like, you're going to build your confidence by doing that. So don't make too many promises to yourself that you're not going to be able to keep, and get in the habit of doing those things consistently, and you'll start to build confidence in yourselves too.
And just observing, maybe you don't, or maybe that's not the time for somebody to work out, right? Like you said, I don't work out during that time. But some people, it's prayer. That's important to do in the morning, right? But like for you, it's your checklist. Like, this is my big things I need to get done today. No matter what, you do it every single morning. In my opinion, there's checklists everywhere. But you're setting an intention. This is what I want to get done today. You're putting it out there. You're a very visual meditator, manifester. So like you'll think through, this is what I want this to look like, and then generally those are things that happen.
Yep, I do my visualization in the car ride. Probably not the safest, because sometimes I don't know how I even get to places.
You don't lie.
Up and I'm like, oh, I'm here. Okay, so morning routine is one of the habits. The second one is follow-up obsession. We see a lot of high performers. The fortune is in the follow-up. I believe that. I stand by it. I think it's so true. I think a lot of agents will try to get a hold of somebody one time, like, they didn't answer. they have no system, they don't put them in their calendar to follow up again, or their CRM, or whatever you're using, doesn't matter, but it's a one and done thing.
Yep.
And the fortune is in the follow-up. Sometimes you have to follow up 10, 15 times over several years.
Yeah.
Whew.
Oh, for real.
So yeah, do you want to expand on that? Systems here.
Follow-up is super important. I'll go back to when I was door knocking. I had a list. It was crazy. By the time I was 4 years into door knocking, area 5,000 homes, I had 140 listing leads. And back then, back in my day, I would literally every other Friday, I would drive all 140 homes, and I would leave them the same thing. It would just be like a market update, what we have active, our active buyers in every home we sold. So it was just like a newsletter essentially. Yep. And I would drive to every 140, knock on their door, talk to them. They probably were so annoyed, but those people didn't know I wasn't in the entire neighborhood.
Right.
They just thought, oh, he's back again every 2 weeks with this newsletter. And that we found a lot of success through doing that, right? So that was a very, very simple, time intensive, but simple follow-up plan. Don't overcomplicate it. Just make sure you're in front of people consistently over and over again. Yep.
For me, it's I love my calendar. It's color coordinated. It's pretty. I have follow-ups for certain colors. So I'm a very visual, as you've already mentioned. So for me, I put everything in my calendar. If I tell somebody I'm going to follow up with them in 2 weeks, it's going on my calendar. It's color coordinated. It says who I'm calling in 2 weeks. Like, it's a very, very simple process. This isn't difficult. I just do what I say I'm going to do, and then I do it. And I do it over and over and over again. So that would be one thing for follow-up. The second would just be having a system outlined, whether that's your touch plan. Again, don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to have this 100-point touch plan if you're just getting into this and wanting to start things like this, but have a plan in place and then follow it and just be consistent. I mean, the things we're talking about are very basic. It's just people don't do them. Or maybe they don't know how to systemize it and structure it. Like, they have all the pieces they need to do. They just don't know how to, like, systematize it.
Some people get stuck on this of like, I just talked to him a few weeks ago, I don't know what to say. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, it's funny because we're in sales, so I'll see like videos and trainers that are in sales, like, never say check-in, never say touch base. Like, and I agree with that when it comes to like the words you use, but saying those things is better than nothing.
Yeah, it's about staying top of mind.
Because what happens is you're like, one thing we know about the real estate world is whatever your lead says their timeline is, cut it in half. So if they're like, we're a year out, they're moving in 6 months. If they're 6 months out, they're moving in 3 months. So if you wait for that time, somebody's going to come in sometime in that window, and they're going to take that lead from you.
Dun, dun, dun. Zillow,
right? All because of what? We were too afraid because we didn't know what to say. And sometimes it's as easy as just saying, hey, out of curiosity, I know last time we talked, you were thinking 6 months. Is that still our timeline? Has anything changed? Is there anything you need from me? How simple is that?
And try and add something of value if you can. If it's March or April and we're coming into spring season in Nebraska, like, hey, I have a great sprinkler guy. Don't forget to de-winterize your sprinklers. Do you need a good company that will offer you a discount through us? Or just something that you can do of value. I'm always trying to think when I'm reaching out that I'm not just saying, hey, just wanted to check in. Hey, just wanted to follow up. I do sometimes, but to your point, I do try and avoid that as well because I want to provide something of value. So I'm not calling and saying the same thing for 2 years. But you also have to be in the mindset of, I'm going to be in real estate for the long game, and I'm planting seeds. Whether this person buys or sells from me now or 8 years from now, I'm still going to stay in front of this person. And I think that's also a key differentiator is that a lot of agents, if they're not in that first like 90-day window or buyer and you're selling with me right now, then like they're not even communicating with these people because they don't want to buy or sell right now. So why do I need to communicate with them?
Yeah, like if you want to have a sustainable business in real estate, you've got to build your 1 year plus pipeline and then follow up with them. It's super important. Yes, you should bring value. We have a structured follow-up conversation script. Worst case, just call and say check in. Like
They saw your name on their phone and they're going to remember you again.
Yep. You just want to stay top of mind.
And if you think you're annoying, who cares? Because they're not going to call you if you don't talk to them anyway. So if you're worried about annoying them, like what's the worst that's going to happen? They're not going to work with you. Well, they're probably not going to if they don't remember you anyways.
Hey, there it is.
Okay, moving on.
Call them.
Call your people. Tracking. Okay, so the third thing that we've noticed a lot of high-performing, talented individuals is they're very data-driven. They know like where to double down on their business, where their referrals are coming from. They're tracking the things that they're doing, the things that are working, so that they can narrow their focus on those things and not get caught by all the shiny objects trying new things all the time. Focus on the things that work and then just continue to be consistent with those. So this is your favorite topic, so I'll let you talk a little bit about tracking.
Yeah, to me, this is the only way I know how to go from 0 to being in the top 5. There's so many agents now, right, that are up there that are built on reputation and longevity in the industry, and they really don't have to track things. If you're anywhere in your first, 5 years and you want to be in the top 10%, like coaching, accountability, and track your numbers. If you think about any big business that you've ever seen in the country, let's say in the United States, or any big business throughout the world, they know their numbers way more than anybody else does. Everything is built on, like you just said, like on data. So how could you possibly know what adjustments you need to make throughout the week if you have no foundation of what's even happening?
Yeah, I mean, you're treating this like a business. I mean, if you're a serious person who's coming into this industry who wants to be a top agent, this is a business. So, you have to track things. You're not going to guess why you had a good month. You're going to track it. I mean, if you start a lawn mowing company tomorrow and you invested all your money in it, you're going to track what you're doing, how many sales you have, what you're spending. It's the same thing for real estate. We're tracking conversations, appointments that lead to sales, and you're doubling down on the things that are working for you and then increasing your conversations if you're not hitting the goal you want to hit.
Very minimum, how many people did you talk to this week? There's an app on your phone called the counter widget. Put it on your home screen. Every time you talk to somebody about real estate, just hit +1. And you'll know pretty quickly how busy you are. If you're only talking to 6-7 people a week about real estate and you're in sales, that's probably an issue, right? You've got to like really push that number up as high as possible. A lot of our team members now really kind of float between like 30 to 45 conversations on a weekly basis. And what I can tell you, if you're new to this industry, you should blow that number out of the water, like 10 times over. When I started in real estate, like I was talking to about 30 people a day, 125 people a week. And once I did 100 conversations in one single day, that was super simple to do 30. Like you take whatever you do in a week and do times 2 in a day. And I promise you, like lead conversion and lead generation becomes a lot easier, and just track your numbers.
Why do people not do it then? Like, we know it works. Every successful agent, if you look at any top agents across the nation, even if we get outside of like ourselves in Omaha and we look even bigger, they all do this. Why do so many people not do this when you tell them to do this?
Rejection and effort. Like it literally just takes effort, right? You have to really want this. There has to be a sense of urgency about it. And what I've realized is like people have this ceiling of like, we set the ceiling for them. So like, hey, let's talk to 35 or 40 people. They're like, oh God, that seems like a lot. What if I just said, talk to 80? And then all of a sudden it's not so much, right? So for me, I've just been trying to like raise the standard of what is actually possible. Yes, I know we're busy and we have fires to put out, this, that, and the other. But if we set the standard like 30, 40 is hard, it's really not. It's like it's just not.
No.
Like if you had zero business, that should be the only thing you're doing. You can do this for 2 to 3 hours a day because we work 8. Like, what are you doing the other 5 if you don't have business going on right now, or the amount of business that you want? So go track your numbers and go talk to 100 people in a week and see what happens.
And if it doesn't work right away, I think to kind of add on to this with the tracking, don't stop. It's not going to be perfect right away, because you're only going to convert at a high level as your conversations become more fruitful and intentional, and you know how to guide a conversation, which at first you're going to suck at it. Like I was sucked at it. Like I didn't know what to say. Like, go tell me, call people. Well, I don't know what to say to them. So I think a lot of agents quit because they're like, I'm doing what you say I'm doing. I'm calling people and I'm not getting any appointments, or I'm not converting. And so now we have a skill set thing that we have to work on. It's not that tracking numbers and doing it doesn't work. And I'm going to use Katie as a really, really great example. That this time last year, wasn't it, how many weeks was it that she had gone without a sale?
She was 16 weeks in. She had about 70 plus people in her pipeline and only 2 deals done.
Okay.
So it's wild.
And then what happened from there? Like, so she was doing the work, she was doing it consistently, and we kept hearing her say, my pipeline's not popping, it's not working, right? But she stuck through it.
Yeah, I mean,
and she pushed through that.
She was 16 weeks in. She's doing 50, 60 conversations on a weekly basis, which is like the lead up time. She went from 60 to 70, 80 people in her pipeline, and only to have 2 deals, like what a feeling, right?
Right.
Slingshot method though means the longer you wait, the bigger push you're gonna have. From week 16 to week 52, she did 38 more deals, which is absolutely crazy. Now she's pacing at, probably this year she'll pace 60 plus.
35 year to date this year, so she's pacing to hit 70 this year, and this is her second full-time year in real estate.
Yep, and so to what you said, right? Like track your numbers, but then that's where coaching accountability comes in. Like, all right, we talked to this many people, this many appointments, we have a skill set issue. What's the skill set issue? What are you saying? How can we say that different? Let's practice it live. Those kind of things are really, really important, but you can't ever get to those type of adjustments until you know the numbers.
Right.
So it's tracking, and then it's looking at the numbers and understanding what adjustments need to be made.
Okay, so last one we'll talk about is mindset. So another thing is unshakable mindset. So people that are okay with getting rejected and how quickly they recover. So let's talk a little bit about that mindset of how, like, what are the top people that you've noticed from coaching have in common when it comes to mindset and rejection?
Yeah, it's you got to really want this, right? Like you have to really, really want this and be tough about it. So I think where people struggle when they get into sales is they take a no personally instead of just understanding, like, again, the numbers game. If you track your numbers, this is all numbers game. For me, I'll go back to personal example. When I used to door knock, and I'm talking knocking 125 doors in a day, 30 some people, I know most of those are going to be quote unquote no's. If somebody yelled at me, I'm like, thank you for not wasting my time.
Yeah.
Like, flip your perspective a little bit, because there's some people out there that are like maybes, and what they'll do is they'll talk to you for 20 minutes and then be like, yeah, I'm not actually moving. Like, at least the person that yelled at me was clear, right? And I can move on, and then you have to build that resilience of like, hey, this is not a no, it's just not a no, not a yes right now. And I got to move to the next one. Not everybody's moving right now, but everybody does have a timeline. You just let them tell you what the timeline is.
Yep. Yeah, and I think, like, it's easy to get caught in, like, chasing a lead that's, like, not really a lead either. Like, oh, they didn't really say no, but, like, there's no gateway to do anything, so I'm going to just keep trying because, like, we're afraid to be direct with them. So many people are afraid to just be direct and get that no that you're talking about, because they're like, then that means I have to move them out of my pipeline. And now the reality is I don't have as many people in my pipeline because I had to have conversations with people, which means rejection, and people have to move
I'm afraid
out of my pipeline. I'm afraid to ask that question. So yeah, but how is that, like, a learned behavior? How do you teach people to just have, like, a strong mindset? Like, when you just tell somebody in coaching, well, you just got to be okay with rejection, that's so much easier said than done.
Yeah. Well, listen, the first thing is, if you want to stop getting told no, stop asking yes or no questions. Right?
Good. Yeah.
Just ask when. Like, change the wording you're using. When's your next move? My next move isn't until 5 years from now. Versus, hey, are you looking to make a move? No. Okay, well, if that hurts your feelings, stop asking that question. Right? And then secondly, like, as you're going through this, like, go get told a no enough times that all you're doing is looking for no's. Like, you have to change your mindset about it, and it comes through activities and changing your standards again, right? Like, if you're only talking to 25 people, the no's are hard to take. If you're talking to 100 of them, you're like, I'm used to this, and you've built, like, some sort of resilience when it comes to your sales ability. So
yeah,
I think it just is through effort. Like, you have to want this, and it's got to be urgent. So when we talk about mindset, one thing I would say, like, when it comes to, like, rejection and moving forward, like, pull yourself out of your business today. Look at your pipeline. Look at your top 5 people in your pipeline. Those people, who they are, the characteristics about them are going to reflect exactly who you are. The cool thing about sales is it shows you who you're being. So if you have a bunch of people that are picky and they're not motivated, it's likely that you're being the same way. You're not motivated, and you're probably isolating yourself to certain forms of people, if that makes sense. If you have a full pipeline, a bunch of people that are, like, motivated, they're ready to rock and roll, you're crushing it right now, it's likely that your activities were motivated activities that were urgent, and you were focused on the things that you're wanting, right? So look at your pipeline and allow it to show you what you're bringing into your life. Frustration means like, hey, okay, I'm not aligning with the goals that I've set out at the beginning of the year. And just align your actions with the type of people you want to work with.
That's good. I think my reflection from this conversation, even though we've kind of outlined what everybody has consistently, I think a big piece of it is also having that self-reflection moment and looking internally at yourself, because it's so easy for all of us, if you're not succeeding or you're feeling like you're failing constantly or things just aren't working, to look externally of, well, this system's why I'm failing, this coach is why I'm failing, this, instead of looking internally at like, what habits have I said I was going to commit to that I'm not actually doing, and look at ourselves. And what are we actually committing to, and then start small from there and stick to it. Whether that's 5 conversations a day for a week, even if you know you have to be doing 100, we'll start with 5 then. And do that consistently and make that promise to yourself, and then up it from there. So you got to look internally if you want to succeed.
That's right. I think it's super important. Pull from other areas of your life too. Like, you're consistent. You consistently wake up and probably brush your teeth, right? Like, you have consistent habits. You just need to apply them to the business world that you're in. So I think that that's super important. And then if there's a coaching conversation to be had, even if it's not hopping into coaching, like, we would love to say, hey, what are you doing in your business? What kind of things are you running into? And just tell you like what kind of things that we've had to overcome in order to get to where we're at today. All
right.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, you guys, we will see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.